Alright, so a lot of you guys liked my YouTube videos on the sex purge. It was somewhat received. And today I'm going to do some videos, and then tomorrow I'm going to do the NBA prediction, because it's supposed to be the Golden State Warriors versus the Memphis Grizzlies. You know, I guess they realized that don't nobody want to see the Spurs versus the Warriors in the first round, because that'll be a short-lived series. So this is going to be sex game. What do I think is going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years? Well, see, what I've noticed is that a lot of men, and I'm not talking about alpha males, I'm talking about beta male men, that a lot of men are going to get sick and tired of people telling them you need to do this or do that to get you a beautiful, attractive woman, order for you to take her out to lunch and dinner, or to hang out with her, take her to the movies or the mall, socialize. So here's what I predict, and this is a real prediction. I predict in the next 10 to 15 years, see, if I was to say 20, 25, 30 years, a lot of men are going to say that's too far into the future, so I'm going to stick with a basic number. The next 10 to 15 years, a decade and a half, I predict that men from the ages of 18 to 29 and probably age 30 to 35 with the minor exception, I predict that a lot of men in the next 10 to 15 years are going to have sex with women, but they're going to pay for the sex. Now, I already made a YouTube video saying the good and the bad of buying sex. The thing is, you get all the sex you want if you got the money. So if you're on a job and you work 10 hours, 15 hours, 20, 30, 40 hours on a job, or if you have 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or you have your own private business, you can go buy you some sex. But the reason why I said there's the good and there's the bad is that the bad is don't be complaining when you don't get no respect from other men and other women 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. In other words, what I'm saying is it's good you got the sex, but it's also bad because you had to resort to paying for it. In the next 10 to 15 years, men are not going to give a damn if it's public knowledge or if it's not. They're just going to do it. Because in real life, there's no such thing of you put in hard work and dedication for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years, extreme cases 25 to 30 years, and a woman tells you, well, you got to have a house, you got to have a car, you got to have a job. So you get a job, but you get 2 jobs, you get 3 jobs. And you get a house, if not a house, you get an apartment, you get a car, and you do all of this in 10 to 15 years, and a woman will say, well, I still don't find you physically, sexually attractive. I just don't like you like that. And you be angry and red in the face because in 10 to 15 years, you went from getting 1 job to 2 jobs to 3 jobs to getting a house, if not a house, an apartment and a car, and she still feels like that she doesn't have to give you anything. And for the most part, 80 to 85% of the time, the woman is usually correct. She doesn't have to give you, she doesn't give you anything if she don't want to. And a lot of guys are sexually frustrated. A lot of men are angry because they worked their ass off, and when it's 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, or extreme cases, 25 to 30 years later, and the woman still won't let you take her out to lunch and dinner, or won't let you hang out at the mall or at the movies, and you tell her, does it have something with the way I look? Most women are afraid to open their mouth and say, fuck yes, it's the way you look. You're too damn short. You're fat. I don't find you physically, sexually attractive. You're just not my type. You know, my type of guy is a guy that plays basketball and football, or he goes to the gym, or he has 6-pack abs, or he drives a motorcycle or a truck. Now, you get a motorcycle, and there are some cases that you get a motorcycle, but you still get rejected. You get a car or a truck, but you still get rejected. And then you be going to yourself, this is bullshit. I did what you asked me to do, and you still reject me. That's why I made that YouTube video when I first started this YouTube channel 2 months ago. It's not a woman's words, it's a woman's actions. And I believe a lot of men from the age of 18 to 29, and minor exception, men from the age of 30 to 35, are gonna start paying for sex behind the scenes. Like, society kills me when they put on the news that professional basketball players and football players go to Las Vegas and they have sex with prostitutes. Or they'll go have sex with a porn actress. Well, a lot of times those professional basketball players and football players try to talk to beautiful, attractive women once upon a time in high school and college, and they got rejected. They got fake phone numbers, fake email addresses. The girl said no. And when the guy starts becoming a multi-millionaire, all of a sudden the girl now finds that man physically, sexually attractive. Now all of a sudden she likes him because he's rich and famous, because he makes 20 million, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. But he can't have sex with a prostitute because by law it's illegal to have sex with prostitutes. So if you live in Los Angeles, you might get arrested by an undercover police officer that's an FBI agent, and you might get arrested and go to jail for the night. And then you appear in front of a judge while the judge had that look like, you fucking idiot. You mean to tell me you make millions of dollars, you play professional basketball, professional football, and you decided to have sex with a prostitute? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? You make millions of dollars. And a lot of times basketball players and football players want to say, how the fuck would you feel if you worked for your whole entire life and you get told no, it's 10 years later, it's 15 years later, it's 20 years later, and you still get told no? And last time I checked, 80% of men don't want to be told no. There's no such thing of working your ass off for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and the woman still says no. You got a lot of actors, a lot of famous Hollywood actors in television and film that also get arrested and go to jail for having sex with prostitutes. And some of those actors feel the same exact way as the basketball players and the football players feel. It's not fair to work your whole entire life for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you still tell me no. That's very rude and disrespectful. And you see, a lot of times it is men's fault, but it's also society's fault, because they allow women to think that when they watch these movies and these television shows, that the shit they see in the movie and TV shows is real, when it's not real. You got a producer who has to produce the movie or TV show. You got a film director who has to film the movie or the television show. You got a writer that has to write the movie and the TV show. And you have a film editor that has to edit the movie or the television show. So none of the shit you see in the movies and the television shows, 80% of the time, it ain't real, it's fake. It's called the suspension of disbelief. It feels real, it sounds real, but it's not real. And 80% of the time, women think the shit is real. Like 50 Shades of Grey, like Twilight. They think it's real. Even if you were to have a conversation for 3 hours and you tell them none of this shit is real, they'll agree with you that it's not real. But when they go home, they go back to, yeah, to me, it should be real. Keyword, it should be real, but it's not real. That's like if I was to say, I wish Power Rangers was real. Motherfuckers be ready to call the mental services of health and say, put this motherfucker in a straitjacket for thinking Power Rangers is real. That's like me saying, I wish Dragon Ball Z was real. Motherfuckers be like, oh shit, this nigga think Goku and Vegeta's real. Somebody call the police. Somebody 5150 this man that lost his damn mind. He thinks Dragon Ball Z is real. Well, that's the perception we got in the real world. So if Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and Dragon Ball Z's not real, Twilight's not real. Now, 50 Shades of Grey, in a certain extent, is real. Like, the sex is real, but the situation is not. Like, there's no such thing of a man that's 26, 27 years old, that's a multi-millionaire or a billionaire at 27. Now, there's a such thing of him being 35, 36, 37, or 40 years old, and he's a multi-millionaire and billionaire, but not at 26, not at 27. See, men from the ages of 18 to 29 don't have that much money available. See, all throughout your 20s and some part of your early 30s, you gotta save your money up and buy you a house, or rent an apartment, or get you a house or a car. And it might take you 2 jobs. Hold on. We got a truck passing through. A lot of times it might take you 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, 5 jobs. Hell, it might take you 7 to 8 jobs before you make enough money to get a house and a car. And by the time it's 10 years later or 15 years later, you're already sexually frustrated as a heterosexual man. You're already angry and pissed the fuck off that in 10 to 15 years, you did all that hard work and dedication into women of the ages of 18 to 29. It's like Comedy Central. It's like a joke to them. Like, they find this shit funny. You don't find it funny, but they find it funny. Women don't start finding stuff not funny until they're in the same situation as most men. And when a man says, no thank you, you're too old, you're too short, and you're fat, then that's when those women take the shit personal. And then if you were to laugh, don't laugh, because you laugh, them women be ready to whoop your ass if you start laughing. And then you have what they call hypocrisy, you know, hypocrites. I call them aristocrat hypocrite motherfuckers, because it's okay if they do it, but when you do it, it's a crime to humanity when it's not a crime. But what I'm saying is that in the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see men from the ages of 18 to 29, and sometimes the ages of 30 to 35 years old, just pay for sex. And then a lot of people will shame you if you decide to take your own hard-earned money that you pay bills with, that you do tax returns, and basically look down on you if you even entertain the idea of having sex with porn actresses, strippers, prostitutes. They will look down on you if you even entertain that idea. And they don't care if it's 10 years later or 15 years later or 20 years later that you're sexually frustrated. They don't want you paying for sex. They want you to do it the old-fashioned way. Get a house, get a car, and let a woman tell you if she finds you physically sexually attractive. Now, that works for some of us. But what about the other guys that no matter what they do, it doesn't work? Someone's gonna end up taking some money out their wallet and paying for the sex, because they're not gonna want to sit here and go in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s being laughed at and made fun of because society told women if the guy ain't rich and famous, you can't get with him. Just to show you, society is fucking stupid, because all society wants from women is money. And once the woman gets in her 30s and her 40s and her 50s, society really doesn't give a fuck what a woman 30, 35 years old goes through. So when a woman 30, 35-year-old say, I can't find no man, society don't give a fuck. If a woman is 40, 45, again, society does not give a fuck. Just like society don't give a fuck if you're a man and you're from the ages of 18 to 29 or you're 30, 35 years of age. Society don't give a fuck if you're a black man, a Mexican man, an Asian man, an Indian man, or a white man. It don't give a fuck. But if you don't give society money, then society will call the IRS, and the IRS will say, where's my fucking money? Because that's what they care about. Now, when you take something away that they care about, then you got their invited attention. What I'm trying to explain to you in this video, that in the next 10 to 15 years, most men, and I say most, are not going to give a fuck if it's public knowledge or not public knowledge if they pay for sex. And if any woman tries to walk up to most men and say, how dare you have sex with a prostitute, I can almost guarantee you, until I'm 10 times rich in Las Vegas, that most men will tell women, shut the fuck up, because you ain't had to put no hard work and dedication in 10 years or in 15 years or in 20 years, because most women have no idea. It's easy for them to have sex. A woman could be 300 pounds, fat and obese, and she can have sex with basketball and football players, because a lot of men are desperate. You know, this is like Casino Royale. We're playing blackjack cards. Put your goddamn cards on the table. A woman 300 pounds, fat and obese, can have sex with basketball and football players if the man is desperate enough. A woman that is low class, a woman that doesn't even make enough money at her job, can get 10 phone numbers in one day, while the average man, it might take him 5 years or 10 years to get one phone number. And I'm not making that up. That's according to the statistics. And when that man takes out his wallet and says, I'll just go have sex with a prostitute, then they'll say, oh, you're desperate. How could you do that? You got cases where a man is 6 feet to 6'4". He's between 200 to 240 pounds of rock solid muscle with six-pack abs, and he is physically, sexually attractive, and he can get any woman he wants, but for whatever reasons, explained or not explained, he all of a sudden decides, I want to have sex with a porn actress. And people be like, you're a multi-millionaire that makes 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 million dollars. Why would you want to do something like that? And 99.99% of the time, that man is sexually frustrated. But you're not supposed to open your mouth and say, well, it's been 10 years. It's been 15 years. It's been 20 years since I've had sex with a woman. Just the idea of you saying it make people go, God damn, well, what the fuck you been doing? Well, I had to buy a house, I had to buy a car, I had to get a job, I had to get 2 jobs. And when you tell them all of that, then they'll say shit like, well, I didn't know it was that bad. Most of the time when they say, I didn't know it was that bad, that means they're stupid and ignorant, because they're not in that situation until the powers that be, that is, puts them in that same situation. Their whole critical thinking and the way they talk changes overnight. Like, imagine if you took somebody that's poor and you made them rich. Well, now they know what it means to live like a rich person. Now take a rich person and make them poor. They won't survive, because they're not used to going from being rich to poor. And anytime you see a rich person go broke, it's because once upon a time they was poor, and when they became rich, they're not used to being rich. They're not used to having money. So when they keep spending and spending and spending and spending, it's because they're not used to being rich. So when you be saying why these multi-rappers make millions of dollars 5 to 10 years and they go broke, because they're not used to being rich and famous. And when you get a person that's rich and famous go broke, and you see them go crazy, it's because they're not used to being broke and being poor. They're used to being rich. Well, when you get a guy or a woman that can easily get a date real easy, they have no idea, no clue to what it feels like to go 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years not experiencing that. And then when it does happen to them and they go crazy, then they don't know how to handle it, because they're not used to not getting no attention. They're not used to someone ignoring them for 5 years, ignore them for 10 years. Hell, I'm gonna ignore you for 20 years. They don't know what that feels like, because they're not used to it. They're used to getting the attention. And the person that never gets no attention, the reason why the guy becomes a pervert or a creep is because he's not used to getting the attention from women. So if a guy goes 5 years, 10 years not getting no attention, what society will say is, well, it's not our problem, it's your fault. But it is society's fault, because you're the one who caused it in the first place by allowing these movies and television shows to give people ideas. Well, I want a guy to be just like in the movies and the television show. I'm just trying to explain to you in this 19-minute video that in the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see men from the ages of 18 to 29 years old, sometimes 30 to 35, pay for sex. Because they're not going to end up in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s being told no. And you see, a lot of times when women reject you, they actually have a reason for rejecting you, which no one complains about. That's not what men are upset about. What most men are pissed off about is when a woman rejects you and she don't have a logical reason for doing it, she just wants to do it. A lot of times when they do that, it's because they watch too much television and too many movies. Like, other words, you can understand if a girl says you're too short, you're fat, you're ugly. You can understand that. You ain't got no house, you ain't got no car, you're just not my type of man. You can understand that 80 to 85% of the time. What you can never understand is when they say, oh, I just don't like you because I just don't like you. That's not a logical answer. That's just being stupid and dumb. Because if you were to do the same thing back, it's you're an asshole, you're a jerk, you're a bully, you're a punk, you don't like women, you're misogynistic, all that stupid, ignorant ass bullshit that you see in the media. If you were to reject a woman just for no reason. A lot of times when men reject women, it's because the woman is too old, she's fat, she has kids. And I already made a YouTube video telling you what happens when you turn down a woman because she's fat, she has kids, or she's just too damn old. Those women will take a baseball bat or a frying pan and beat the living shit out of you just for saying that to them. And that's your logical answer for rejecting them. So when a woman says, I just want to reject you just to reject you, a lot of times it's a stupid answer. Because a lot of times they don't have no answer. They see stuff from a movie or a television show, and they take stuff from movies and TV and use it as an actual answer, when in reality that's not a logical answer. That's just being stupid. That's like if you got arrested by the police officer and you were driving 50 or 60 or 70 miles per hour in a car, and the cop said, do you know what the speed limit is? And I sarcastically told the cop 45 miles per hour, and the cop said, no, you dumbass. You were driving 75, 80 miles per hour, and the speed limit's 45 to 60. You driving 75 to 85 miles per hour, and let me see your license and registration. And I give the cop a stupid answer. When you get arrested by the police, a lot of times it's what you say that make the police say, okay, I wasn't going to arrest you. I wasn't going to ask for your license and registration, but you gave me a stupid answer that wasn't logical, so I'm going to arrest your ass and throw your ass in jail because you gave me a dumbass answer. Well, a lot of times they'll tell you, oh, I want to reject you because I want to reject you. And when you say, what's the answer, and you don't get no answer, a lot of times it's because they took it from a movie or a television show. But if a man started saying, well, let me take stuff from a movie, let me take stuff from a television show, let me take something from my favorite rap song, well, then the woman will say that's not a logical answer. So when I say they're aristocrat, hypocrite motherfuckers, what I'm saying is they're aristocrat, hypocrite motherfuckers because a lot of them are just taking shit from movies and television shows and trying to base that off as a real answer when that's not a real answer. A real answer is you're ugly. An answer is you're too short, you're too fat. I don't find you physically, sexually attractive. You don't have a house, you don't have a car. You're just not my type of man. That's a logical answer. So men don't complain when women reject them based off of that. It is when a woman say, I just want to reject you just because, that's when men get angry and pissed off. In the next 10 to 15 years, you're just going to see men just pay for sex. And any woman that tries to open their mouth and say, that's desperate, or why would you do such a thing? Most men, not me, but most men are going to say, shut the fuck up, because you ain't had to work for 10 years, 15, 20 years, and get cheated out of a golden opportunity. Most men, whether they say it or they admit it, a lot of them feel like they're being cheated out of a golden opportunity. Now, men who don't have to pay for sex are guys like me who say, you know what, I'll just get a house. I'll just get a car. If I have to get 2 jobs, 3 jobs, fuck it, I'll get 2 jobs. I'll get 3 jobs. The only time I think you should have to pay for sex as a man is when every alternative has failed. Then only necessarily I think, okay, you need to fix the problem. Now, the only thing I'm going to say to men is when you do pay for sex, stop going around bragging to people that you paid for sex. Like you think it's the greatest accomplishment. A lot of guys kill me in the gym when they see me bench press 200 pounds, 300 pounds, or they see me deadlift 200 pounds or deadlift 300 pounds. They kill me when they brag that they pay for sex. And I'm like, if I'm rich and famous and I can do the same thing, I would not brag about it. I wouldn't talk about the bullshit. Because now other people can go back and spread your business on social media, and then it becomes public knowledge that you're desperate and you don't know how to talk to women and you don't know how to have sex without paying for it. But a lot of these guys do it like it's their greatest accomplishment. And to me, when a lot of men do that, you need to stop doing that, because what happens when your mom finds out? What happens when your grandma finds out? What happens when your dad finds out? What happens when your friends or your coworkers find out? Then they lose respect for you, and then you cry about not getting no respect. So it's one of those things that you just keep quiet. You do it, but you just keep your mouth quiet. But too many guys have egos, and too many guys want the attention, and it's like, okay, fix the problem, but don't be going out there trying to brag like it's the greatest accomplishment in the world, because it's not. It's one of those things you do when every alternative has failed. So this video was to tell you what's going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years. Until next time, peace.